We're going to continue in the Bible study of the book of Ruth. We're going to dive into chapter 4. But before we do, I want to remind you that I had titled each chapter. In chapter 1, I titled The Extinguished Hope. Chapter 2, I titled A Spark of Hope. In chapter 3, I titled Hope Rekindled. And I'm going to title chapter 4, Hope Realized. So here we're going to go ahead and continue here. Chapter 4, verse 1. Then Boaz went up to the gate and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. So Boaz went up to the gate. And the gate to the city was a central place for business transactions. Let's go over to Deuteronomy chapter 25. And now if you remember, Deuteronomy has to do with the duties of a kinsman redeemer, or the brother of a husband. Verses 5 and 6 talk about that duty. Verse 5 of chapter 25 says, If a brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. And it shall be, that the firstborn which she bear shall succeed the name of his brother which is dead, and his name be not put out of Israel. Verse 7, If the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders and say, My husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Now, the purpose of this passage is to give you an example as to why they go up to the gate. They go to that gate because there's a lot of people passing through there, and there's a lot of people that can become witnesses to the transaction. So Boaz went up to this gate, and he sat down, and lo and behold, the nearer kinsman comes by. Boaz knew that he would be able to conduct his business at the gate, and he also knew that he would see the nearer kinsman. Ho, such a one. Come aside, friend. Sit down here, is basically what he's saying. Because of Boaz's prominence in the community, people respected him and listened to him. Now, the writer of the book of Ruth doesn't mention the nearer kinsman by name. We will explore this later. Since the gate of the city was a place where many business transactions took place, it was easy for Boaz to find 10 elders. Those elders would serve as witnesses to that transaction. The elders had the authority to confirm legal transactions and to act as judges in civil matters. Let's go to verse 3. Verse 3 says, And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which is our brother Elimelech's. In verse 4, And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it there before the inhabitant of, and therefore and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. So Boaz, he kind of cleverly presents his case. First, he presented new information not yet mentioned. Elimelech still had property in the area, and that it was for sale. Boaz informed him of this since the relative had the right to buy it first. And according to Leviticus 25:25, the nearer kinsman has that right to purchase or to redeem prior to anyone else. Boaz is informing him in the presence of the people living in that area. Not only in that of the people living in that area, but in the presence of the elders. Boaz was also letting the relative know that this would be a legal and binding deal. So the relative, he agrees to buy it. He agrees to redeem the property. Let's continue in verse 5. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the land of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. Now, at first the relative believes that it's just property. Then Boaz informs him that he must also marry Ruth. Why does he have to marry Ruth? I'm glad you asked. When the property belonged to Elimelech, and Naomi was Elimelech's wife, why shouldn't he marry Naomi? When Elimelech died, the property was inherited by Mahlon. Since he became the legal owner of the property, then Ruth would be the person to be redeemed. You see, the property was, once Elimelech passed away, the property was passed on to the son. Ruth just happened to be the wife of that son. Verse 6. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. The passage, I cannot redeem it for myself. This is where the rubber meets the road. And his commitment changed. Once he realized he had to marry Ruth, he changed his mind. His reasoning? Well, it's found in this passage of verse 6. Lest I mar or ruin my own inheritance. The relative is referring to commitments he already has. He might be worried that a son born by Ruth would be able to also inherit property the kinsman already owns. One more reason could be that he had some racial prejudice against Ruth since she's a Moabitess. Now remember, the Moabites were at odds with Israel. You have to remember, racism is a tool of Satan. He used it then, and he uses it now. It is wrong, and the children of God should not allow racism to take place in our hearts. We should stop it. If we have any kind of feeling of prejudice against someone else because of race, we need to get that out of us. We need to ask God to take it away from us. So whatever the reason, he simply could not redeem Ruth and the property. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 1. We're going to read passage 1 through 3. And the Lord called unto Moses, and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, he shall bring your offering of cattle, even of the herd and of the flock. And if his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. Now I'm going to skip down to verse 10. And if his offering be of the flocks, namely of the sheep or of the goats, for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish. Now, we're referring to Boaz as a kinsman redeemer. And we're talking about him being a type of Christ. And as a type of Christ, he's redeeming Ruth. But we have to understand that our kinsman redeemer, Jesus Christ, was offered up. And if in Leviticus it said that the offering had to be of a male, not the female of the herd or the flock. This is why Christ came as a man. The offering to God for atonement had to come from the individual's herd, cattle, flock, sheep, or goats, or birds. The offering had to be perfect, and it had to be valuable to show the high price of sin. The nearer kinsman redeemer was not able to purchase this land and marry Ruth. Maybe it was a financial situation that he couldn't do it. Maybe it was because of what I had mentioned earlier. But we have to understand that the kinsman redeemer had to, if you remember in previous chapters, I said that the kinsman redeemer had to be someone who qualified to be the kinsman redeemer. This nearer kinsman redeemer didn't qualify. Boaz did. Let's go to John chapter 18. Then led they Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment. And it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled. But they might eat the Passover. Pilate went out unto them and said, What accusation bring ye against this man? They answered and said unto him, If he were not a malefactor, we would not have delivered him unto thee. Then said Pilate unto them, Take ye him and judge him according to your law. The Jews therefore said unto him, It is not lawful for us to put any man to death, that the saying of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spake, signifying that what death he should die. Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again, and called Jesus, and said unto him, Art thou the King of the Jews? And Jesus answered him, saying thou this thing of thyself, or did others tell it of thee? Pilate answered, I am a Jew. Thine own nation. No, let me rephrase that. Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priests have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Jesus answered, My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate therefore said unto him, Art thou the king of the Jews? Thou a king then? And Jesus answered, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Every one that is of the truth heareth my voice. Pilate saith unto him, What is truth? And then he said this, He went out again unto the Jews, and saith unto them, This is what I want you to hear. I find in him no fault at all. Then they cried, and they all again saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber. In the Old Testament, when an offering was brought to the tabernacle, it had to go through an inspection. It had to be without blemish. It had to be without spot. Jesus just went through that inspection station when he went before Pilate. Pilate came out and said, I find no fault in him. This was the qualification that God caused Christ to be qualified to be our Redeemer, according to worldly standards. Because the worldly standard was the offering had to be without blemish. So he had to be inspected. And he was found blameless. Jesus stood before Pilate. He was on trial. Pilate found no fault in him. Jesus passed the inspection, proving that he was perfect and without blemish. Now back at the gate, Boaz had put the nearer kinsman on the inspection table. The nearer kinsman didn't pass inspection. He didn't qualify. We find here that the nearer kinsman did not qualify. His heart was not in the right place. He was only concerned about protecting himself and his investment, his property. He had no desire to redeem anyone else. Boaz, however, qualified. His heart was in the right place. He was chosen by God to be the nearer kinsman. Whom God calls, he will qualify them. John 3:16, For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on him would not perish but have everlasting life. I'm going to go to Acts chapter 4, verse 12. And when Peter saw it, he answered unto the people, Ye men of Israel, why marvel ye at this? Or look ye so earnestly on us, as thou by our own power or holiness we have made this man to walk? I'm in the wrong chapter. Sorry about that. Chapter 4, verse 12. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. That name, Jesus Christ, is the only name that brings salvation to mankind. People are searching. They have a void inside that cannot be filled by any other means except through accepting Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. Buddha can't save us. Muhammad can't save them. Even Christian radio can't save people. Christian radio stations are a great ministry. But it's not them that saves us. It's Jesus Christ. Let's go back to Ruth chapter 7, or chapter 4, verse 7. Now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Back in Deuteronomy, verses 25 to 27, when a widow went to the gate to proclaim that the brother would not fulfill the kinsman redeeming duties, she would take off his shoe, and she would say, and she would announce that he would not do it. That's found in Deuteronomy chapter 7, or 25, verses 7 through 10. By removing his shoe and giving it to his neighbor symbolizes the surrendering of all rights to what goes with it. In this case, both the property and Ruth's hand in marriage. So he forfeited all rights, current and future. That means that the nearer kinsman cannot come back later on if he's find himself in a better position to redeem that property and to marry Ruth. His rights are all gone. They've been transferred to Boaz. Verse 9 through 10. Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, Ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's, of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren. And from the gate of this place ye are witnesses this day. Boaz is telling the people that they are witnesses to this. The nearer kinsman's refusal to redeem the property, and Ruth, and that they are witnesses to his purchasing of the property. Moreover, basically means this. In addition, he is letting the witnesses know that he intends to marry Ruth. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 13. This is the third time I am coming to you. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. Basically, this is showing that these witnesses were establishing the legality of the transaction that was taking place at the gate. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 18. We're going to read verse 16. Let me go back up to 15. It says, Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall bear thee, or if he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. This is another confirmation of the duties of the witnesses, to establish the legality of a transaction between 2 people. Verse 11 and 12 of chapter 4. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which 2 did build the house of Israel. And do thou worthily to Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. and let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. The people and the elders said they are witnesses. They made the transaction legal and binding. Then offer the blessing and congratulate Boaz on his marriage proposal. And let's go to Genesis chapter 29. Rachel and Leah were daughters of Laban. Jacob wanted to marry Rachel. I'm going to go to chapter, it's 29. I'm going to start with verse 25 to 30. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah, and he said unto to Laban. Now, let me back up here. Jacob wanted to marry Rachel, and he agreed to work for Laban for 7 years for the hand of Rachel in marriage. But once he worked that 7 years and fulfilled that commitment, it was time for him to receive his bride. I'm going to go to verse 24. And Laban gave his daughter Leah, Zilpah, his handmaid, and for a handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah, and he said unto Laban, What is this that thou hast done to me? Did not I serve thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her a week, and we will give thee this also for the service that thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. And Laban gave Rachel his daughter, Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her maid. And he went in unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served him yet 7 other years.